So, hello there. Big thanks to Jasco. I got a message from them a couple weeks ago saying, hey, you want to do a box opening? We'll send you a box. And I said, sure, I'll try my hand at a box opening. Why not? So yeah, I have a box from Jasco Games. And two things. First of all, I've never done a box opening before. And second of all, I am finding out my camera's not entirely cut out for this. So apologies for that. I do think I have the lighting to get the foiling on some of the XRs that we pull, which should be pretty cool. We'll try to get those shown off. But yeah, to make up for that, you know, since I am here, you know, sort of as someone who has at least half a clue what I'm talking about, I figured to make this a little bit more for the content. From each pack, I will pick one of the cards in it and ramble about it a little bit. You know, talk about cards that I think are, you know, a little underrated, something I think is interesting, some decks I think something might go in, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. Just to sort of add a little bit of meat to the bones to this box opening video, just since a lot of them are going to be, you know, a lot of box opening videos out there are people who, you know, are sort of not very familiar with the game, just kind of learning about it. This is the first time ever seeing our cards. I've seen a couple of those, and those are all really cool to see people really excited about these cards. But yeah, I'm gonna put my own little take on it here. If you are brand new, first you stumbled across this video on the interwebs, you have no idea what's going on, what this is. This is a box of the Heroes Clash set for the My Hero Academia collectible card game. This is the third set, and there's a couple really interesting sort of unique things about this set. First of all, it's the first set that they've done really in the history of this game system that is primarily meant to be an expansion set. There are some new characters in it. They do have some cards that are meant to help them out. But unlike pretty much every other set, the bulk of this set is dedicated to cards that you can put into your existing decks, into some of the characters from the first two sets, help out some promo characters that didn't really get any support cards, that sort of thing. So it's really neat. The cards in here are sort of all over the place in terms of, you know, their symbol spreads and what they do. And the other thing about this set is that there is a very small chance that in one of these packs is something called a Chrome Rare, which are 5 individual alternate art character cards that are numbered 1 to 100. So they're all 1 of 100. There's 100 of each in existence. So as you might imagine, that makes them very, very rare, but they look really, really cool. And they're sort of nestled into the commons in these packs. Just as a PSA, if you ripped all your packs and just kind of stacked up all the commons and set them aside, you should probably go back and look through your commons because you might have a Chrome Rare. Yeah, there's probably at least a couple people that have Chrome Rares that have no idea that they have them. So yeah, all that stuff out of the way. And also, if you're brand new, I'm pretty sure most people who get to my channel are pretty well invested into the game already, but if you are new, check out the description. We will put a referral code and a link to the organized play system. If you sign up there, you'll get enough points using the referral code to get a promo more or less of your choice. Some of the newer ones might be a little bit more than the 50 points you'll get, but there will be plenty that you can choose from. That you basically just go onto the loyalty shop, you say, hey, I want to spend my 50 points, send me, you know, this Midnight character card, for instance. We're going to see a lot of Midnight cards in these packs. And yeah, you'll get one in the mail, you know, within 2 to 6 weeks, depending on the timing of when they send stuff out. So, all that stuff out of the way, let's just go ahead and dive into this box. So, the first thing in this box, and these, I'm trying to do the fold-out thing. These boxes have like a little fold-out display. Where sitting on a store shelf, it kind of sits on the shelf like this. A lot of card games do something like that. There's an insert in here for the Strongest Hero mobile app, which they work together to get some art from. So that's to help those guys out. And every box comes with one extra rare box topper, and this is the Blue Flame Palm Strike. So extra rares are cards, they're foil, alternate art, alternate foiling, in some cases, versions of existing cards in the set. So this is sort of how you sort of make your deck all flashy and whatnot. And these usually have, in this set, more so even than others, some sort of distinct foiling. Like you can see the fire here has some special foiling on it. We've got the background, and this is a frameless card. You'll see the cards in the set have more of a frame on them, but this is a frameless XR special foiled Blue Flame Palm Strike. It's one of the pretty nice looking ones. Set that aside. You also get a couple of what they call quirk pack box toppers. These are things that local stores can give away if they're cracking their boxes as sort of incentives, but if you're just getting boxes wholesale, you just kind of get these. Like all the booster packs, they have a little pull tab here. They're pretty easy to open once you get familiar with them. So this is a card, Chivalrous Competitor, that comes in the quirk packs that I've heard a lot of people talking up recently. I'm excited to get to try this card for myself. The E-flip, both players draw a card. You go, ew, it's a symmetrical effect. They're getting it, I'm getting it. But really in this game, because the timing of when you draw can matter so much, and the response to protect your stage pieces, especially in... I believe Earth doesn't have protection for flips, and Chaos doesn't have protection for destruction. So this is... and All doesn't have any of this stuff. So this is really big for the All symbol, and an interesting piece for the other two. And the other quirk pack we're opening, this guy, Hardened Steel. This is sort of a cute Trixie card, where Kevin Broberg's really interested in stacking the bottom of his deck and trying to draw it. I think that's a little too pipe dreamy for me, but it is a Fury Punch on symbols that are interested in having Fury Punches, and it's usually going to be, slightly overstated 4 mid-5 type of card that... if you do want those cards out of your discard pile, if you're getting to the end of the deck, there can be a use case for this. So I'll be interested to see how much play that sees. All right, let's start cracking some booster packs. I think I'm going to take them all out of the box and stack them up. Hopefully not shift my setup around too much here. So you can see all the first edition packs are going to have this first edition seal up on the top right. These are some very nice looking booster packs in general. I really like the sort of aqua and gold color scheme. It's pretty different, really. Sort of flat color pattern here. Alright, so we're going to pick a card to talk about out of each of these packs. So we have Carbo Loading, and I'm certainly not going to read what all these do, and you're not going to be able to read them with the camera quality, but we'll hold them up to get a little bit of any of the art. I think I hold them this way, right? That's kind of how we do this. Carbo Loading with Bench Press. We're not going to do this for every pack. Just trying to think about... There's your Sports Festival Champ, Prehensile Tail. I think that's what we're going to talk about. Here's the normal Blue Flame Palm Strike. So you can see it has the full orange border around it for an attack card that our XR didn't have. Branching Snare, Sudden Appearance, Death Arms Wallop. Ooh, an Influence in the Youth. Alright, I'm going to talk about this card instead. So this is a card that people who know me... know the kinds of cards I like in this game should know I'm pretty excited about this card. The symbols are a little tricky. I haven't built too many decks on these symbols for one reason or another, but just having a couple of these in your list to try to secure those late game situations where they've got double rescue completed, they've got double release. So this is what a lot of successful decks have been doing in the set 2 format. And there's a bunch of stuff in Heroes Clash like this that sort of give you a way to get up and over those sorts of defenses. So that's a pretty interesting normal rare to start us off. The second pack here. Alright, so we have Water Pump. I'm kind of doing this just to make sure I don't miss a chrome. I've got Feeling Cute, Frozen Slash, Dreaming of Glory, Zip Line Dart. We got the Rikido Sato character, another Wallop, Showing Off, and the ... So Manly card. So I kind of want to... I should favor uncommons and stuff, right? So we should talk about Showing Off. This kind of effect has an interesting history in this game system. Sometimes they make a card like this and nobody plays it, and sometimes they make a card like this and everybody plays it. And so this is another take on that. We've got the nice block, we've got a 4-check to downside it, and we have a condition on the no progressive. But, some decks, you think, obviously a lot of people are doing this with Ignited Arrow, for instance, off of the evil symbol, but some decks have a bunch of 2-speed attacks that meet this condition very easily, or some attacks like Texas Smash that meet this condition very easily. And so yeah, you can slide this into your decks and make these longer attack strings. I think this is probably a very interesting incentive to run the All Might 3 off of the All symbol. He's, he certainly has the cards, right? He draws the cards. He just needs some help passing all of his attacks that, you know, the all symbol hasn't necessarily afforded him that much outside of pull no punches until he gets this card. Make those Texas Smashes ignore progressive and really just keep playing a big string of attacks. Attack 3. We have Cool and Tough. Easily Excited, Trap, Flex, Snack Time, Frozen Slash, and Denimed. Improving 13. Black Hole Void. Oh, and we've got a Recovery Time. So this is a big question mark of how much play this card's going to see. It's obviously going to, if you put it in your deck, it will win you games. It will, you know, blow up your opponent's kill attempt in the middle, and then they're way too overcommitted to it and overextended, and you get them caught and you backswing them. That's sort of the dream with the card. In some other cases, it might just keep you a little bit out of reach, and sometimes it might just not be enough, might not matter. But I'm pretty interested to see what kind of impact this one has. And the anti-discard is not irrelevant. You know, there's a card called Petty Squabbles that some people are a little bit high on that could force this out of your hand and hit that trigger. So I don't know if there's going to be enough of that to warrant seeing this in sideboards. I think some decks will probably just main a few copies if they're just, you know, a seven-hander that wants to stretch their health out a little bit and maybe, you know, make their opponent think about their math, right? Just having the threat of this changes how your opponent plays, you know? So I think this is a really, really good card. But as always, you know, you only have so much space in your deck, so we'll see how this does when it has to compete with other cards on its symbols. Watching from a distance, we have a Forceful Blow, Honorable Forfeit, Idle Work, Sticky Ball Whale, Basic Training, another Showing Off, the USJ, Proud Scion, oh, Somnambulism. The card that is going to make more than 3 people play Midnight. So this is one of the biggest question marks heading into Nationals, is how many Midnights are going to show up, how many people are going to have Midnights in their sideboard with some Somnambulism backing it up. And, you know, from packet opening angle, this is an ultra rare. So sometimes ultra rares have like a little bit more fancied up foiling than the normal rares. I think this one's got a little bit of that going on, but they save the really special treatment for the XRs, you know. But it is a 2-check. It does come at a cost. Chaos in particular has absolutely no problem loading its deck up with quality 0 difficulty foundation, so expect to see a lot of Midnights off of Chaos. But she does have 2 other symbols. She's allowed to play them. So this will be interesting. She also shares those 2 symbols with Eraserhead, and, you know, a lot of decks would just sort of have the Eraserhead and some erases in their sideboard. You can do that with Midnight now too. You can have a Midnight and some Somnoms in your sideboard. If you want to, you know, maybe the opposite of Eraserhead, you're looking to shut down a defensive character instead of an offensive one, right? So very, very, very curious how this Midnight, especially with all the other Midnight Helper cards in this set, how much she shows up at the Nationals. Okay, we have Brandish, Successful Results. Here's one of those Midnight support cards, Spirited Referee. Dream of Glory, Vocal Discord. We might have to talk about that one before we're done. Male Bonding, Branching Snare, Dexterous Appendages, Extendo Hairstrike, and our first XR. XR Gargantuan Bellow. So you can, yeah, we can see some of those foiling lines on here. Just a bunch of action lines coming out of his scream here. We'll probably get to Bell. This is an XR uncommon. That's not going to come through on the camera, but the cards this set are marked with their original rarity of what they are an XR of. So the original Gargantuan Bellow is an uncommon, but this one, you get the frameless special foil treatment. And heck, we'll talk about Gargantuan Bellow. This is a card I'm kind of like down on this card out of the gates, but there are some creative uses for it. You know, off of Chaos. You've had these Chaos decks for a while in the Set 2 format that really, among other things, are like looking for ways to slam damage on their meteor showers, for instance, and this gives you a way to do that. And yes, it's 6 difficulty, but it's also a 0 mid block. And so it doesn't really sit dead in your hand. Actually playing it's very situational, but the defensive side of it is so good and useful that I think we're probably actually going to see this card, and we'll see how many lists it sticks in or how many it winds up being cut from, but I think a lot of people are going to try this, and I think it's probably going to be more that are happy with it than I've traditionally given it credit for. I'm going to get these XRs into a pile over off to the side here. Blue flame over here too. Right, what do we have in this one? This is kind of fun, just kind of sort of spinning the wheel on cards to talk about a little bit. Spinning kick, and at some point we'll start pulling from these comments. I just don't want to back myself into a corner where the only card in a given pack I can talk about is the ones in the back. We've got Carbo again, Water Pump, Ride, Tape Lash. This is actually a pretty good looking XR. Bewildered, Battle Arena, Student of the Art, Ice Slide, and Friend of Animals. I want to talk about Bewilder. This is a pretty interesting card. So a card from set 2 that I played that not too many other people played was Going Out to Fight Some Villains. It's a 2/5 with a terrible block that flipped for -3 speed and could conditionally flip for -2 damage. This is obviously a very similar shape, even shares 2 symbols with it. It can flip for -3 speed or -3 damage. They're both conditioned on your opponent playing a bunch of attacks. But obviously -3 damage is a little bit stronger. So, yeah, it's probably... people have played cards like Super Regeneration in their deck. They just slam these 2/5s in that flip to give them 3 more effective health, and this kind of does that. So I expect this will see a little bit more play than Going Out to Fight Some Villains. But interesting that it shares 2 symbols with it. So I'm not sure which one I would favor putting in a deck. It's kind of one you have to think about a little bit. The damage side is stronger. The speed side works if they don't buff the speed, right? Both parts of Villains had different conditions on it. But there will also be decks where this just never even comes up because they're not playing that many attacks in the turn. That said, think about Ojiro, for instance, is certainly going to be doing this, so... could be a sideboard card as well. Something you bring in if you need a little extra speed 8. Noble participation in this one. Brandish, cute. Full on attack mode, zipline, dart, snack time, dexterous, Glitzney, Hype Man. We've got a Nullify. We have to talk about Nullify. Nullify's this is sort of like Recovery Time, where you put this in your deck, probably hoping to trip up the opponent in the middle of an attack string and sort of get them caught out without, super overextended, but not actually able to kill you and exposed to a backswing. Because it's 3 difficulty, it's a little hard to use on your own turn to protect your own offense, the way you might have been able to use some similar cards in the past with this system. So, you get to thinking a character certainly like the first Eraserhead that can get rid of this card if it's not very good, or really on any of these symbols you might be playing something prone to Dry Eyes to get rid of it. So a card like this, because of as situational as it is, it's very powerful. But you kind of want to find a spot for it where if it's not going to be very good for you right now, you can sort of get rid of it. This might be some good incentive to run all Kirishima too. There's a lot of cards with the all symbol in this set that make you go back to some characters that had that symbol that was always like, well, why wouldn't you just play this character with one of its other symbols? Because either there's a lot of all cards that also have the good symbol, for instance, and the good symbol's maybe a little bit more fleshed out in certain ways. But you get some stuff, a lot of these Eraserhead cards, a lot of these Midnight cards also really make you take another look at the all symbol for some of these characters and say like, oh, well, I get this, and that's kind of unique and different and interesting. Here. Forceful Blow, Bench Press, Sided and Denimed, Sticky Ball Whale, Bonding. There's the regular Gargantuan Bellow. Windows Shopping, the USJ again. Got a Brutish Swagger, so this is an ultra rare. Actually, the sort of digital preview of this card looks a lot worse than the real version. The real version of this card actually looks pretty good. Like, some people were kind of worried when they saw this art. You know, Sato's not the most popular character in the world, but it's pretty good looking. Let's see. There's some. We can talk about bench press a bit. This is one you might see a lot early on, and then we'll see if it sticks or not. This is a very easy condition to meet, is losing health at some point during the turn. There's a lot of characters that just do it on their face, for instance, and you could have decks that have, you know, Nervous Habit or just brute strength. It's the name of the Nomu card. Or just like have enough ways to pay health that they think they're going to trigger this. And these 2/5s we saw the Kirishima 2 decks of the last meta really feast off the fact that they had a 2/5 that just slammed +1 damage and everything. This is gonna give there's a few cards like this in the set that give that sort of effect to a broader range of decks. And it gives you the scaling offense that gives you a chance as the game goes longer. You know, even if you don't have, you know, any clear, completely blow them out, you know, wall breaking or deadlock tools or similar. But just having huge numbers on all your moves can get you there sometimes. And it's I don't want to disrespect the flip gain 2 health, right? That's 2/3 of one of those flip -3s that people play a lot, right? And you can use it on your own move. Alright, this pack we have Water Pump, Ref, Forfeit Ectoplasm Clones, Dreaming of Glory, Catching a Ride, Can't Escape Me, Quick Draw, Sudden Appearance. Oh, we've got back-to-back Sato packs. This time we get Talented Baker. Yeah, we could talk about Talented Baker a bit. So this has a Sato-only ability on it on the bottom, which, you know, is extra cards for Sato. I think a lot of people prefer Sato 1 to Sato 2, and I would tend to agree. But if you want to play Sato 1, you're presumably playing these, and similar to Bench Press, just being a foundation that puts +1 damage and everything. Foundation that puts +1 speed on everything ain't half bad either. And you could see decks with this card and the Kirishima card, Homage to My Hero, in tandem, if Kirishima himself triggers both of them automatically. But you can just see as the game goes on, that they just build up this stage that each individual piece is just +1, but you have 3 or 4 of these cards, and all your attacks are getting this stat boost. Can be pretty effective. Alright, so we have Spinning Kick. Shooting from a distance, Carbo Loading, Blue Flame, Palm Strike, Bewildered, Frozen Slash, Tentacle Strike, Shigaraki, Proud Scion, and Laceration. We have to talk about Tentacle Strike. So this has Fury and Ranged on it. It also has Slam, not a whole lot that references the Slam keyword right now, but there are some things like Air All Might that are looking for these Air Fury attacks, for instance, and key in with some of the old Air Bakugo stuff. This card's maybe not necessarily intended functionality, but interesting functionality. It has a card pool response to remove after a card leaves your rival card pool. You get to commit one of their foundations. This works during the end phase. So your rival's clearing their card pool at the end of the turn. I believe you can remove this to point and commit one of their things. So kind of a handy little utility for an interesting utility attack. And if your rival's character is committed, it gets +2 damage, so it becomes a big stats card. In addition to, on your own turn, you might be able to clear this out of your card pool while you're attacking to commit something, depending on what your rival is doing. I'll have to double check. I've heard people confirm that this works, but I'm going to double check for myself to make sure that they do clear their card pool before you, right? That's sort of an important part of that idea even working. But I've heard a couple of different people say that it works, so I'm just going to believe them for now. Trap Flex, we've all worked up. Noble, full-on participation mode, Zipline, Dart, Tape Lash, Black Hole, Valiant Pose, Branch and Flex Your Might. So this is an ultra rare action card. I don't have a whole lot to say about Flex Your Might. It's kind of a neat card that sort of over time maybe going to find more decks than it has right now. There's not too many cards in these symbols that have huge starting printed damage. I guess we're already talking about this card. Yeah, so there were some recent rules updates to clarify how this first form works. So the way the simultaneous stuff's going to work is that if there are decisions that have to be made, then the player who's playing the card gets to decide what order those happen is, because you can't have two people just sort of playing, oh, you choose first, oh, you choose first, so you know. So you can't have that. So yeah, as the player playing Flex Your Might, you get to say, okay, my opponent, first of all, you have to tell me if you've decided to reveal a card at all. And, once we've both made that decision, we both pick the cards that we're going to reveal, and then we both reveal them at the same time. So it should go pretty smoothly once people get used to how that sequence works. Presumably the person playing Flex Your Might is going to have a lot more experience with that than their opponent, but yeah, it's good. Maybe I think in time we're going to see more of this card than maybe we see right out of the gate in this set. Just because of the card pool, and there aren't. I can't think of too many 7, 8 damage attacks on those symbols right now. Just kind of what you want to be playing if you're going to be doing that. Alright, we have successful results. Swift Cross Detonator, cool and tough. Festival Champ, Idle Work, Vocal Discord, Improving, Bellow again. One with Nature, we've got an XR in this pack as well. Ooh, it's an XR all worked up. Let's get... Come on, lighting. See, there's a bit of a swirl pattern on it. Just these little concentric swirls around midnight here. And we can talk about all worked up a little bit. This card impressed me a little bit in the pre-release. It felt pretty good, even without a discard outlet, just having the 1/5 foundation with a decent block that, with the playable, well-committed, flexible, +1 to a check, you can use that on defense, you can use that on offense. You can use that, if you're in a pinch, if you're just trying to stay out of deadlock, it's useful for that. Yeah, this is kind of a nice little card. I don't... Depending on its symbols, right, you're going to have different levels of competition for the spam slots, for the high block slots, for instance. I know the all symbol, every time I build an all symbol deck, has 40 high blocks and 10 blocks of other zones, so maybe won't quite fit in those, but I think decks with discard triggers are going to be taking a look at that card. And it'll overperform a little bit when they go and try it out. Pull times make these packs so much easier to open. So, we have Shadow's Aid. I think the first one of these we pulled. Brandish Steel, Like the Wind. I love the XR of Like the Wind. Honorable Effort, Basic Training, Prehensile Tail, Showing Off, Quick Draw, Hype Man, and UA High. I'm going to talk about Like the Wind. Like the Wind's a neat card. So this has an ant commit. It nets you 3 speed on an E commit, which is pretty good. You think about Ice Gliding netting you -3 speed on an E commit. This is an offensive version sort of that. Only instead of being conditioned on anything your opponent has control over, it's just, if this attack is 6 speed or more after it's +1 speed, your next one's going to get 2 speed. And so it's almost a future pump more so than a right now pump. But you're thinking about certainly in Ingenium and Ida and these characters that are good at making one attack fast, something like this can be very helpful. And the response of just getting some momentum, people have played Charged Up for this, and this is, just does what Charged Up does minus the choice of what goes to your momentum. But Like the Wind itself goes to your momentum, it has a much better block than Charged Up, and it has a second effect that is also pretty relevant. So I don't know, the characters that want to play this card haven't seen a whole ton of play traditionally, but there's a few cards in this set that are in that space that might make people take another look at the Ingeniums of the world. Alright. You have Spin Kick, Carbo, Noble, Bewildered, Idle Work, Plasm Clones, Ice Slide Tackle, Valiant Pose, Blitz Knee, and Command Pigeon Flock. Let's go. This may be a bit more of a Debbie Downer type of thing. So we have this noble participation card. Oh man, the blur's real bad, eh? Get this maybe a little down lower. But this has a single effect and it reduces a card's keyword ratings to 0. So back in ye old days, an ability like this was solid gold because it could stop an old keyword called multiple. MHA, that's not around, so you're talking you might be able to get rid of a stun 2 with this. More interesting, we can get rid of breaker with this. So it is a flexible card and kind of a neat effect. You can get rid of EX powerful, which people don't give EX enough credit. There's a lot of games that get closed out by just a big EX dump and just like, oh well, I guess I'm not blocking this, right? So I feel like this card's not going to... This card probably deserves to see a little bit of play, and it's probably not going to see any. Partly because of the block modifier, too. But I think somebody's going to put this on a table at some point and realize that this can actually cause a little bit of havoc. I said I was going to be down on that card, but then like as I was sort of thinking about the card live as I was talking about it. Kind of a neat card. Swift Cross Detonator, all worked up. Referee. Catching a ride. Prehensile Tail. I'm going to get to Prehensile Tail at some point here. Engine Trouble. Dexterous Appendage. To the rescue. We're getting an extra rare in this pack. Whoa! Okay. Okay, we have extra rare Prominence Burn. That is a good one. Let's see, this has... I think his fire is a little more highlighted on this. Yeah. A little bit of like a pattern inside his flames on this, and there's a lot going on with this spoiling pattern. So yeah, well, heck. We're certainly not going to open any normal versions of this in the booster packs because this is a starter exclusive card. But you can get XRs of starter exclusive cards, and this is a 1X in the starter as well. Pretty happy to have opened this one. So this is interesting. It's a 6 difficulty attack that you want to play not first. So kind of compelling. It's based at 6/7. Next gets +2 speed. It is kind of medium, but if you can get the effect off to clear your card pool and burn them for 3 while you're at it, that's pretty cool. You also just played a 6 difficulty attack second, and now you're trying to do a string. So maybe a bit of a deeper play, but there's a bunch of characters you think Kirishima, of course, you think Aoyama, characters that have help passing attacks like this that are I think there's going to be a lot of people building prominence burn lists on a variety of characters that haven't quite gone for this angle and see how it goes. I have a feeling it's one of those cards that's probably simultaneously overrated and underrated at the same time. I think you probably need more of the right fit for it than people are thinking, but when it finds that right fit, it's going to be really, really good. Alright, Forceful Blow, Like the Wind. Distance, Male Bonding, Envenomed, Blue Flame, Black Hole Void. Constantly Improving, we have Shoji. We have Blood Moon Rending. Blood Moon Rending, I definitely wish had more Eraserhead symbols than just Void on it. But certainly my history in this game, this card is very compelling for me. If you look at the Order weapon lineup's not that exciting right now, but the Evil has some stuff, and Void certainly has all those Eraserhead 1 and 2 attacks that are largely pretty good. So I think you're going to see Void weapon lineups with this as one of its linchpins. And this could be a kind of card that starts to get people to look at the Evil symbol a little bit. I kind of want to go look up myself after this what the Evil weapons lineup might look like. Yeah, I know people are down on something like Knife Strike as just being a card that's just stats and, attacks that are just kind of stats are lame, but it is some nice stats. And that's just something off the top of my head. I'm just thinking of all the Stain 1 weapons and some of the other Stain 2 weapons from this set. Probably a few more just sort of scattered about that people don't think about very much because there hasn't been a whole lot of Evil weapon chasing. I think about Maybe like an evil May Hatsume, for instance. Man, May just like Blood Moon rending people and then putting all the stats on it could be a thing. We have Cool and Tough, Traplex, Shadow Z, Basic Training, Snack Time, Sticky Ball Whale, Student of the Art, Wallop, USJ, and we have a Karate Chop. I don't want to go down the Ojiro rabbit hole on this video. I have 3 or 4 Ojiro lists already. I've just decided I'm just going to name all my Ojiro lists after Pokemon. I think that's just what we're going to do, because I'm just going to end up making like 7 of them. I'm talking about basic training a little bit. This is so the symbols on this card can be a little thin on the deadlock side of things, so I think this card's going to see a lot more play than you might think just based off its main ability. Its main ability is not bad, you know, once per turn plus 1 damage on your zero difficulty is fine. But I think a lot of decks are just going to slam 4x of this thing in there just to get access to some deadlock that does something. And it's not going to scare your opponent out of playing an 11th Foundation, but it's going to help you win if they do. And it's kind of a neat space for deadlock abilities to be, and it's nice to have it nestled on a little zero div spam. The hard part is sharing 2 symbols with requesting assistance. That's a tough card to try to push out of a deck, but I think people are going to be trying to find ways to sneak at least 3x of this in a lot of their lists. Alright, we're down to 7 or 8 packs here. Alright, more carbo loading. Honorable Forfeit, Trap Flex. We've seen a lot of Trap Flex today. Sports Festival, Champ Frozen / Idle Work, Windows Shopping, Wall Up, Proud Scion, Deku's Notebook. You'd think I would want to talk about Notebook out of these. I kind of want to talk about Idle Work. So, off the good and order symbols, this is kind of a weird... It's hard to compete with Self-Sacrifice in terms of the 1/5 Foundation with a low block that blows up your foundations to do stuff. But Void really hasn't had one of these until this, and it's not a bad effect. Especially, you know, keep coming back to this Void Eraserhead 198 with Blood Moon Rending, and now this. You being able to go through the whole rigmarole where you discard a card, you pick up an erase, you make it mid with tape, and then you want to block with your erase or some other mid block, and you can sometimes with Eraserhead get multiple erases just kind of piling up in your hand just from what you've been doing, activating your abilities and whatnot. And being able to, on one of those blocks, see a fresh card that might be an off-zone block and then discard an erase and not care because you can always go pick that back up. This is kind of a pretty interesting card for him in addition to being an off-zone block and a Void block that's not a +3, which is a big problem for Void before this set. So yeah, I look forward to seeing this in Eraserhead and see how many other Void decks show up that can now block a little bit better and can now get rid of foundations and stay out of deadlock if they need to. Maybe even some situations where some good and order decks go like 2x self-sack, 1x disc or something, so it's hard to use 2 self-sacks at the same time, that sort of thing. It's a different effect too, right? It can turn an attack turn that's almost there into an attack turn that is there. Maybe a little bit better than self-sacrifice kind in some cases. Alright, we have Spirited Ref, Easily Excited, Forceful Blow, Prehensile Tail, Clones again, more basic training, Valiant Pose, we have Stain himself, Ice Slide Tackle, and a Confident Inventor. We're going to pull out of here, we're going to pull Prehensile Tail out of here. Speaking of all my Ojiro lists, I just slotted 3 of these into a version 1 Earth list. This flip, I think... people look at this enhanced flip and think about the momentum pickup, and that's obviously good. It also has a momentum hate mode on it. So it, if you're running tight-lipped or you're doing, the decks on these symbols have a lot of flip foundations. So if you're running enough of them and you feel pretty good about being able to trigger this in the mid to late game, kind of could be worth a couple copies, and then it gives you a deadlock enhance that's kind of legit. If the game is actually stalemated, this deadlock enhance of just making 1 throw every turn will actually just says, I will win this game eventually. You are not going to wall me out forever. You are the person that is going to have to do something in this stalemate situation. That's pretty powerful so far as your deadlock abilities go. So I think this is a card people are going to sell a little bit short for a while until we start seeing it in some top cuts lists. But I think it's quite good, actually. I could also be real. For all I know, I could get to testing that card and be like, I don't want this anymore. But, you know, first takes, right? We have Noble Participation, Spirited Referee, Brandish Steel, Endenimed, Taped Lash, Snack Time, Can't Escape, Branching Snare, Showing Off, and Tentacle Tactics. So I try to briefly point out about this card. This is... So a lot of people are going to look at this and think of it as a Shoji only card because it says that Shoji enhance. This is, you know, provided you're maybe a 6-hander or a 5-hander, you have a little health to spare, this sure is a 4-high-8 with Breaker 1 on a 5-3. So that is nothing to shake a stick at. You know, if you're in a situation where this doesn't happen often, there's a lot of competition at 5-3 spots in decks, but sometimes you just need something that's going to come in and have good stats and do damage. And 4-high-8's pretty good. It's a little bit above the curve. You might not have something that's, you know, quite this just sort of solid brick of an attack to play a couple copies of to fill out your list all the time. So I wouldn't completely ignore this card. Sometimes you're sort of sifting through the UVS Ultra and you just sort of skip over cards sometimes. Try to just stop and pause at this a little bit sometimes if you're looking for 5-3s and there's no obvious fits. Could be a good little 2x to put in your deck and just have good stats. Maybe a high zone mix-up in a deck that's very heavy on lows. You could have a depth symbol deck like that, for instance. Alright, watching from a distance, successful results, spinning, kick, sports festival, zipline, mail bonding, blitzney, movie art, engine trouble, twisting azure inferno. I don't really want to get down the rabbit hole of this card, but this is probably the most sought after ultra rare in the set right now. A lot of people are very, very high on this. I'm maybe not quite as high as some of those people, but certainly an exciting card. Now let's do... I want to talk about Engine Trouble. I like Engine Trouble. I think a lot of people have already written this card off. So first of all, this is a +1 low block with Breaker 1, which immediately gives it sideboard value in some decks. Even with the third set, you're going to have deck builds where you go right at the end, like you check your block zones and you're like, oh my god, I don't have low blocks. Or in some cases, oh my god, I don't have high blocks. I don't know if Order has this problem, but Air certainly can. I think Void can. I haven't done too many Void lists lately. So, yeah, sometimes I've put Concentrate in sideboards just to be a low block and do something sometimes, and this is a low block that will win the game sometimes. Anyone who's, you know, spent any amount of time listening to me ramble about cards in this game, sniping the right foundation at the right time is a game-winning ability very frequently. And so this can do that out of your hand. You know, I've main decked erases and decks that aren't eraser-head to do this. And this commits it, so you can also, you know, hit their ability to pass checks, and it's a better block than erases. Yeah, this card, you know, deck space for action cards, always a struggle, but I would not be scared to, you know, just try sliding one or two of these into your lists here and there and see what it does for you. Especially if it's a 1x and your opponent has no idea you have this. And just, you know, hand traps. All these tricks out of the hand, they win games. Alright. We have some cool and tough. Like the wind round, 2 packs left after this. We have Swift Cross, Frozen Slash Attack Mode, Blue Flame Palm Strike, Tentacle Strike, Hype Man, Lessons from Taiyaki, and this might be our final XR of the box. Oh, which it can't escape me. Alright, we have to try to get this foil pattern because this is a good one. Yeah, you could see it's just all the suction lines are just, you know, coming into 13 here. This is another one. This Deadlock ability I really, really like. +1 speed for all their committed foundations on 2 symbols with 1.3 million volts. This is one of those cards. Obviously, the response can come in handy. It has its places where it's really good, but it's also going to have situations where it's dead. But I think between that response and between the deadlock ability in the right matchup, I think that deadlock ability is going to give this a little bit more play. And I mean, I'm thinking about, it's very similar to a card Taiyaki Fanatic from the last set, where people kind of like dip their toes in the water, like play a copy or two, and it had that had a deadlock too, and there might be a copy or two in sideboards. Bit of a different shape on this one, but kind of same energy. Aaron Void, you know, this shares Aaron Void with Taiyaki Fanatic, so it's a little tricky in that sense. You obviously can't run infinite amounts of cards like this, but I think this deadlock enhance is pretty compelling. It definitely makes me think about putting the cards in lists where I might be a little more okay just leaving out a sideboard stage. Yeah, I'll deal if they draw a couple of cards off, passing the torch, but the end one of the deadlock effect I think does a lot for this card. That's the XR. This goes in the XR pile. There we go. All right, 2 more. Okay. Shadow's Aid, Honorable Forfeit, Swift Cross Detonator, Dreaming of Glory, Oh Whale, Catching a Ride, Toru Hagakure. We might talk about a character here. Guard Your Belt. Ooh, Hardened Uppercut. I like me some Hardened Uppercut. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, but I feel pretty good about it in theory. The +0 high block with the -2 speed. Yeah, we're just gonna talk about Hardened Uppercut. So this is certainly a pricey enhance to destroy 2 and give the attack +4 damage. A 3 low 9's not that exciting. It's pretty blockable. And I don't think these symbols are too well set up to do like the sort of low spam plan. But it does have EX2, and if your deck that has some opportunity to put some speed on this while, you know, also having other threatening attacks, this can be the Haymaker lowercase h to sort of close out games, or just the threat of it, right? Just saying, like, by the way, I have this 2x in my deck, it does 9. I think this card's going to be pretty handy, and that +0 high block with the speed hate, the Earth symbol especially, you just love seeing that because it doesn't really have much of any speed hate, and this is both a great block mod and it gives you a little speed hate. And it tends to have some face downs. It tends to not really have a lot of outlets for momentum aside from EX2s. I mean, you see a lot of Earth decks actually do the EX2 on Back Alley Haymaker just to shove in 5 damage plus whatever damage bonuses they get. This is 9+ bonuses. You can shove in 11, 12, something like that on this in a late string. I think this is going to be showing up. You know, I think low attacks have been, you know, you've been able to build decks with like 9 low blocks and just say like, well, I only really care about 1.3, and that's kind of it. With this card and some of the other cards in this set, I really think a little bit more about making sure you can block those low attacks. Alright, final pack. Alright, we have Feeling Cute. All worked up. Water Pump. Vocal Discord. Bewildered. Clones, Valiant Pose, Quick Draw, Window Shopping, and a Fierce Whirlwind, ultra rare. Alright, I said I was going to talk about Vocal Discord. I'm going to talk about Vocal Discord. So this has, there's a bit of a thing in this set. Charge ranged attacks on Chaos and Fury ranged attacks on Fire. So something that's sort of a struggle when building decks on those 2 symbols especially is that Chaos has sort of a charge line theme where you get to run Double Chop Bumble, which has combo charge and some other charge specific support, and also the range line theme where you get to draw cards off of Heat Wave. Maybe you're running Self Assured. And Fire sort of has the same thing going on with the range theme and the Fury theme. And this has a bunch of cards like Vocal Discord and a bunch of Fury range cards that are solid cards. Vocal Discord is very often to be 4 low 5, 5 low 5, 6 low 5 in a long game on your 4 diff. That's perfectly fine and acceptable, and especially think about, you know, Todoroki 1 putting a bunch of damage on this, for instance. But they give you a chance to consider a lineup where you sort of bridge the gap and you get to play, you know, a Double Jab Pummel or a Charged Up or something like that that specifically references the charge keyword, but you still get to keep your range theme. And the same thing on Fire with a lot of Endeavor cards with Fury and range. So I kind of want to, I'm not sure, there's a lot with this set where there's the sort of obvious stuff of like, okay, just build Ojiro, his stats are insane. But the second layer and third layer stuff that we might see sort of creep into the meta, once we're 10 events deep, but somebody's on version 10 of their cool, like, Fury Range hybrid deck that they've been tweaking the numbers on for 6 months. I think there's going to be some interesting stuff to come out on sort of a delay in this set. So I'm really looking forward to this meta, not only just the initial launch of it, but to see what develops sort of late as things go on. Yeah, so that was the final pack. That'll wrap up our box of Heroes Clash. Certainly the coolest pull, the XR Prominence Burn. Pretty happy to have one of those. And we got an Azure Inferno. We did pretty good on our Ultra Rares. It's kind of hard to do bad on Ultra Rares in this set. They're all pretty good. I can't think of any of them that are just straight duds. There's no Yaz in this set, for instance. So yeah, hope that was interesting. Hope the ramblings about different cards, maybe gave you a deck idea or something like that along the way. And yeah, check out the description. I'll have referral information in there if you are not on the UGN, the Universus Game Network Play app yet. If you're sort of new and you made it all the way through this video, you can check the description for that stuff. I'll also do a link to the Chrome Rare video. We obviously didn't open a Chrome Rare today. I would have been certainly very happy, but would have felt extra bad about my camera if I did. So, blessing and a curse, but Jasco did a really cool video showing off the Chrome Rare, so I'll post that in the description. And yeah, find some other handy links. And, if this is your first time checking out the channel, I do a roughly weekly news update vid to sort of help people keep abreast of what's going on, because a lot of this stuff is sort of in Discords and maybe gets lost track of over time. So I like to do this little weekly news catch-up video. And some other ones here and there. I plan to do one covering the recent rules updates. You'll see when I find the time to do that. I was doing this in the middle of this week, but we'll get to that one. And so yeah, hope this was useful. I'll try to get a better camera between now and the next set if Jasco's going to keep doing these. Yeah, have a good night, everyone. Take care.